Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking your time out to be here today. We wanted to create this platform because we wanted to hear from the leading architects about the profession and the process of entering into the profession through NATA. I am Architect Saranya, Associate Professor here at Megan's Ooty School of Architecture, and I'll be your host for the day. On behalf of Megan's School of Architecture, I welcome all of you to today's webinar, panel discussion on B.arch and NATA. First, let me introduce you to our moderator, Prof.T.S.Kavitha, an Associate Professor at SRM School of Architecture and Interior Design. She has completed her B.arch in the year 2007 and M.arch in the year 2016 at Anna University with a gold medal. She has been practicing in the field for 14 years, and now she runs a firm named V2 Architects, and she is also pursuing her PhD in Sustainability Development, Biophilic Architecture at SRM School. Also a fellow member of Council of Architecture and Indian Institute of Architects. We welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a warm welcome. My heartfelt gratitude to Megan School of Architecture, Ooty, for giving me this opportunity to share the podium with the eminent guests of the day. Once again, on behalf of Megan School of Architecture and myself, I extend a warm welcome to this dynamic audience who have joined today on this platform to make a difference. At a time when the pandemic is ravaging through the masses, silent and subsequent repercussions are being thrust upon the learning paths of the youth. Pedagogical systems in all the streams of education seem to be at crossroads. There is an urgent need for deliberation on these aspects to help make quick and informed decisions to support the responses to the rising tide of change in the field of academics, especially architecture. Today's discussion is on the prevailing prospects of a profession, architecture, and a projection of its trajectory in the immediate future, and secondly, to reflect on the present context, circumstances, criteria, methodology needed to be included in the eligibility examination NATA, the National Aptitude Test for Architecture, conducted by COA to ensure the quality of the profession all the time. I deem it a privilege to introduce the first speaker of the day. Architect Sri Premendra Mehta is a former president of Council of Architecture India and the chairman of All India Board of Architecture, Town Planning and Applied Art Education of AICTE. Mr. Mehta has unique distinction of being a member of various statutory forums of Government of India dealing with art, architecture, science and research, commerce, urban development, engineering and higher education, including Lalit Kala Academy, CBRI Roorkee, BMTPC, Committee on General Agreement on Trade in Services, AICTE, and its statutory boards on PG Education, Aid Committee, ISTE, etc. He has represented India at WTO Geneva in bilateral and multilateral negotiation on market access for professionals, and also presented a proposal there on recognition of qualification. He presently serves as a member of Technology Submission of Mission Housing for All of Government of India, and he is a member of National Accreditation Board of Education and Training of Quality Council of India. Sri Premendra Raj Mehta is an active practice, has been a partner of Design Action Group since 1979, with several years of professional involvement both within and outside of India. Redevelopment of Connaught Place, New Delhi, a comprehensive urban renewal project implemented under JNNURM, has been visualized, designed, and executed under his supervision. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time and being with us today. The stage is yours, sir. Sir?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The stage is yours, sir. Welcome for the board.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kavitha. Thanks for an introduction and also Megan School for inviting me to share some of my views on the current situation of the profession and what kind of interest it would generate amongst the prospective students. I'd like to share, first of all, that for me, it is almost 40 years in practice, and prior to that, maybe 5-7 years as a student, so almost 50 years of, I should say, being a part of this kind of a profession. I've had an opportunity of also interacting with the other professionals like engineers, doctors, chartered accountants, and had a chance at various forums to understand their education and their contribution they make in the society, and then possibly make a comparison as to where an architect stands. So that has been a very, very interesting kind of feel, interesting kind of an understanding of what we all can do and how an architect can contribute in a little different manner than other professionals. The uniqueness of our profession is that it is on one hand a necessity that we need shelter, we need a space, a confined or environmentally controlled space for work or learning or doing whatever activity we wish to do. At the same time, it is aspirational in nature, that there is something which we always visualized that for a particular activity, this is the kind of space I should have. And we try and help all those people who have a specific aspiration apart from necessity to help them create something, a space, an articulated space wherein they could perform whatever is their intended activity. So that's the greatest thing in that this is not only necessity, it is aspirational in nature. And the aspirational part keeps on changing. You see, it keeps on evolving. It evolves around your experience. It evolves around your, your visualization, that what next? What could be better than what you have today? So it's a kind of a continuous kind of an aspiration which keeps pushing you to improve your surroundings, your immediate surroundings, be it open, be it covered, and keep working for it. And herein, not only an architect helps a person or end user himself also contributes. So we have a unique situation where we are a service provider, but we have a co-service provider in client. So the two together, they work to achieve something which is visualized by the architect and the end user both, which is aspired by both. And this is a very unique kind of a profession in that sense. Its other dimensions are that it ignites originality and creativity. You see, every time you want to do something, you want to be original, you want to be creative, you want to be aesthetically interesting, you want to create something which will make somebody feel, oh, wow, what an idea. So here is an issue of an idea, and that every time you have a chance of throwing open a new idea, which would be seen, which would be understood, which will be questioned, which will be debated by anybody who visits that space, be it the end user directly or somebody who's just simply passing by. Education has its own interesting aspects. It trains somebody or a student to visualize the outcome of what he's trying to do. You see, there is a problem, there is an issue raised before somebody, and he's trained to visualize the outcome. You see, in no other profession, it is so clear, so visible that outcome is visualized at the very instance of or at the very stage of problem solving. When you're working with alternatives, you start visualizing the outcome. And it is that outcome which starts motivating you to do better and better. In no other profession it happens. It happens in some sense, but you have a very specific problem, you have a very specific solution. Here we work with alternatives. There is no unique solution, it would depend on an individual. As I said, the architect and the co-service provider, his client or the end user, two together, what they think is the best alternative for them. There could be almost equal alternative. We have noted in classes also, when we go in a classroom, we give a studio problem. It's an identical problem given to 40 students. They come out with 40 solutions, and maybe all are almost at par. Maybe weightages are different. Somebody gives weightage to view, somebody gives to aesthetics, somebody to function, somebody to something else. And at the end of the day, you feel that, okay, this is also a good alternative. So here is one education which teaches you to work with alternatives. So given circumstances, given socioeconomic situation, given cultural situation, given geoclimatic condition, given an individual's aspiration, you may have multiple options, multiple ideas, which could be equally good. So you start believing in alternatives in life. So even if when you do architectural education, you go through this education, but you work in any other career option you take, you work as a businessman, you work as an industrialist, you work as anybody, you start believing that there are alternatives which are equally good. So that is something this education does good to you, that as an individual, you never focus on a unique solution. You start looking at alternatives. You learn to weigh the priorities which you may give, the weightages you may give to different issues, and expect a different solution which may be equally good. So the training gives you a chance to visualize the outcome of your idea. It enables you to explore alternatives. It tells you that there is no unique solution to any problem. And I think that could be key to your success in any career you choose after this education. Nonetheless, it has one more dimension, which is very interesting, that you start taking pride in what you do. You see, here you create something which you know would live longer than your life, something which you will create which will be subject to opinion, subject to criticism, subject to questioning, and there will be somebody to talk about what you do. So there is a lot of sense of pride as when we do, because our idea gets converted into a physical form, and it is like, disliked, discussed by anybody and everybody. So there is a contribution which you have made, which gives you some sense of pride that it is yours, it is your creation. So that's the greatness of the profession. And then, of course, above all, is, in my personal opinion, when I compare myself with other professionals, is that I think it has given me a unique opportunity in life to understand people from diverse background, diverse socioeconomic background, diverse cultural background, diverse, I should say, understanding of life. And I have been a student throughout, trying to understand why do they do what? What would be their response in a given situation? How people from different area, different thinking, different background, they would react. So you tend to understand human beings a little better. So this is one education, and this is one profession which gives you a chance to understand people, understand diversity, understand plurality, what we have, and makes you a better human being. That's about all. I'd say thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. That was such a great insight. Thank you so much. It was so simple, but very informative and very encouraging for the students and for the professionals. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. I take great privilege in inviting our next guest on the board. I invite architect Dr. Amogh Kumar Gupta, the Chairman, School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. Architect Amogh Kumar Gupta is a practicing architect and valuer currently based out of Bhopal, having done his graduation course of B.arch and subsequent post-graduation of M.arch from Maulana Azad College of Technology, Bhopal, in the years 1985 and 2001 respectively. He has finished his doctoral research on the topic validation of traditional Indian knowledge of home building. His field of specialization include both individual and group housing projects and various urban schemes. He has given extensive professional experience in his field for over 31 years while actively engaging in both government and private sectors, and is now excelling in the consultancy services and projects for the past 18 years. His professional experience range across the government and private construction as well as developmental projects, some of the notable among which are large-scale projects and schemes being run by the government of Madhya Pradesh, group housing schemes for Bhopal Development Authority, Sterling Builders and Contractors, Rashtriya Group New Delhi, urban renewal projects for local body, sports centers, and several prominent hospital buildings across India. Additionally, he has also been actively involved in several prominent government as well as professional committees working in the construction and the development fields, like the Development Plans Committee for several prominent towns of Madhya Pradesh, Building Bylaw Committee, Review Committee for Western Zone, various expert committees comprised by the Council of Architecture. Being a proactive and dynamic individual, he is an important member of many professional and social organizations and bodies. He was the National Junior Vice President of Indian Institute of Architects for the term 2014 and 2017, Council member, and the Executive Committee member for the term 2016 to 19, and also held many similar prominent positions in the same body in the past. He has been appointed as a chairman of the Board of Governors for the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, an institute of national importance under MHRD, Government of India. He is appointed as independent director in Dilip Buildcon Limited, a pioneer company in the field of development and infrastructure. Recently, he is also appointed as an independent director in Satna Smart City Project, Madhya Pradesh. Good evening, sir. I welcome you to the board. The stage is yours, sir. Sir, you're on mute, sir. Sir, you're on mute.
Kavitha, I'm audible now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I welcome you, sir. The stage is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I must give my thanks to Professor Rajaa to meeting me in this program and Magna School of Architecture. I am just seeing my old senior and which I treat him as a guru, Prof. Parminder Raj Mehta ji, to whom I keep on talking. Maybe we don't agree to a point, but I always keep on talking and discussing on and this issue is one which we are going to talk today. I'll not talk about the NATA. I'll just touch in the last. About the architecture, Mehta ji has explained very well. But in architecture, what is my observation and experience? Usually we choose big words, some weightage words, and then whole of the discussion goes around that word. We choose word first and then start talking. So I'll choose a word. You all must be aware of the word Kodak. So what was Kodak? I'll end with Kodak. The other words are aptitude, attitude, and attribute. The aptitude means, I'm just going to dictionary meaning, natural ability or skill. Because on the word, use of my word skill, you had a certain reservation. So I referred the dictionary, word is aptitude. Attribute, the way you think, feel or behave. It is related to the individual person. Here we can say architect. An attribute. Attribute to believe that something was caused or done by somebody. Now here comes the role of first the institutions, the schools of architecture, and then professional colleagues, employees, and other co-professionals members. You see, Professor Mehta has rightly explained, but again to come to the topic, the man, the human being is the right from the early primitive stage. is always facing the challenges according to the challenges of the nature, right from the primitive, and goes on making changes. That means the man himself is either a adaptive or a responsive to the nature. And from here, the architecture starts. From caves to farms, when the man learned first time the agriculture, then perhaps they started the living pattern change. From forest, from caves, they came to fields. Now, just to imagine, when they were doing the cultivation, in India, more than 113 type of cultivation patterns are there at regional level. And these cultivation patterns have directly impact on the settlement pattern. In some area, you will find fields and a house in between. In some area, you will find group of houses and a field separate. So this is how the settlement started. It was responsive to the nature, adaptive and responsive. Elaborating more, in paddy fields, we know while cropping the rice, you need water more. So usually this cultivation pattern was being done where the rainfall was much. So what the man did, he put on the cane caps, some amber, and because it was important to do the cultivation during the rains also in the water. So it was a responsive. First he adopted and then he responded to the nature, because response was as per the work. Accordingly, the umbrella came. Umbrella was a technological based solution, and similar. Now come to what is the architecture. You see, we are every time in a doldrum or a stage of confusion, that whether it is art, science, or a technology. Right now, I've also crossed more than 32, 35 years, and every time this question is always there. To me, architecture is built from a final product, which is visible final product, which is a culmination of geology, geography, geotech, soil, metallurgy, material sciences, safety in structure, astrology, and so not whatnot. Combined together to achieve the desired functional space or a structure with what we read: mass, composition, scale, contrast, balance, and everything. That is the final product, the architecture. So the architecture needs knowledge and background of all these things. Only then the true architecture will come out. Now, my question is to the academicians of the institutions: does our curriculum meets to these requirements? Do we have these components? Have we ever touched to these subjects? No. We always say architecture is a noble profession. I am having a strong reservation on this. Because when we say architecture is a noble profession, then we say other professions are not noble. We should say, as rightly Prof. Mehta said, all professions are noble and all persons are doing the best under their given field what is required to the mankind betterment of the settlement. Everybody is doing, justifying their role. So always saying our profession is noble, I don't agree. Because as we say, that reflects we are not inclusive. That's the biggest blame in industry against the architects, that they are not inclusive. Now coming to very small statistics. Few days back, I worked on it. How much the built space is there where architectural services are rendered or required? It is hardly 9% built up area of the total 65% built up areas of residential land use, uses in which architectural services are being provided or being required or being demanded. There can be so many reasons for that. So this is one of the statistics which leads us not to compare the situation only depending on the residential segment. Because as I started in vernacular architecture, go to Mizoram, go to interior villages, all villages, they themselves are building their shelter, their spaces based on their experience of uses and use of material. So this is one of the points which we should always keep in our mind. We are taught in institution and brought up as individual, and that is one of the reasons we are not inclusive in performance as a group. May individual examples can be anywhere, but in the maximum cases we are not inclusive. And second, really will have to go about the number of architects requirement. I keep myself limited to the residential services because in industrial services or other special building, institutional buildings, multi-story residential buildings, large housing complexes, do we have that much competency in our academic institutes? Are we touching to them to that level? I don't know. At least I have seen that much of reform is required to re-strengthen at the institutional level. You see, in late 70s and early 80s, I belong to UP, and in UP, in diploma, there was subject production engineering, then public health engineering, construction technology. These were the subjects. They were not having degree courses, but they were having diploma courses. And in in 80s, when we took the admission, the first time we heard the word MCA. Earlier, there was only branch electrical. The electrical was divided into computers, electronics, computer science, IT, everything. Why I'm saying, referring this, over so many years, they were very fast to visualize the change requirement in academics or what will be the demand in future while executing the project or designing the project. But still in architecture, we are having the same 5-year course, what it was in 70, the same was in 80, the same is in 90, same in 2000, and it is same in 2020, 22. We are not able to redefine our roles, our specific fields. Now, what to do? Institute have to play a vital and a pivotal role. As in my opinion, they are responsible and should be answerable to individual as well as society. Why I'm saying so? What is the input? Maybe by NATA, may not be by NATA. That is the raw material. You're taking input and you are giving output. Does any institution can claim, yes, the product after 5 years, which I'm sending to the market, is competent enough to do this work? Forget what, don't refer कि Council of Architecture registration करेगा, उसमें act में किया दिया है, क्या नहीं दिया. Any institution can claim my product after 5 years is competent enough to take this level of project, these challenges after 5 years. What happens after 5 years? We come out with a degree, and because the college is affiliated or recognized or something, we got registration and then start claiming master of all. This is not fair enough in present circumstances the type and nature of development goes on, the requirement changing, and challenges we are facing. So what I'll do, I'll request the latest information. I talked on this issue to the Council of Architecture even to start, as I refer. In civil engineering, they are having now diploma and degree of bifurcation specialized job. And from this session, perhaps I have come to know that diploma colleges, schools are also being, will be under the Council of Architecture umbrella, and their course curriculum is under process of revision. So I have requested council also, while framing these regulations, can we have certain changes? Last point I like to quote or refer. You see, still, and what, when in 78, 77, when we were trying after passing 12th to go to engineering college or architecture school, if you ask in colony, I want to do computers, the uncle will say, go to IIT Kanpur. Somebody is very intelligent and is having an interest in civil. Everybody will advise, go to Roorkee. Why don't you go to Roorkee? Somebody says, I want to do some mechanical. Oh, go to Chennai then, IIT Chennai. Don't go to Kanpur, go to IIT Chennai. Do we have any architecture school to excel to that level? See, if anybody comes to me for a guidance, I am going to take admission in first year, but ultimate, I want to work as a hospital expert. Which institute I should refer? Does any institute has developed any caliber or a level to that level in last 40, 60 years? No. So institute should try to have a branding of that institute. Yes, if you are taking admission here, and when you will take this branding a challenge, then you will start selecting the faculty accordingly. Right now what we are doing, we are only referring the minimum qualification given in the Council of Architecture list. I am R. But suppose I want to excel, make my student expert in housing infrastructure, then I'll write M.Arch or a PhD, desirable bracket mein in housing infrastructure. I will not take M.Arch conservation. Any student who's going to do a landscaping and conservation, they will have that thing. And in undergraduate course, in fourth year, final year, I'll take a minor project of a hospital. And we know in our faculty, there are persons who are exposed to the hospital and hospital services. And while I do the master's in hospital and then PhD, I'll be more knowledgeable person to prove in the field. So now my question is, what we want? We want a patronage? No. We should not ask every time a patronage. We have to prove our competence and worthiness. Coming back to NATA, Council is doing their own work in these present circumstances, pandemic area, what best they can do. They are wise enough, they are taking decisions, they're doing, and changes, revision, upgradation, as Mehta Sahib has said, law change is law of nature. We are always there to change as per the changes. This is a human response. But let me put one question. In field of medical, you all may recall of my age group in school, one who was doing a dissection of frog. We were saying he is going to become a doctor. Over years, they have left the dissection of frog. The use of artificial intelligence to a maximum has been used in medical world, right from the study, demonstration to the operations. Why we are hesitating in using of artificial intelligence at our NATA level or at aptitude test? We'll have to do something. And if we don't do, the very first word, where is Kodak nowadays? Is it in market? Once upon the leader, The pioneer in the field of camera, Kodak, didn't change as per the requirement of the time and changes, and now Kodak is nowhere. So my submission is, don't leave architecture, but you'll have to become adaptive and responsive person. Use of present day's tool. Use it there as a tool. Nobody stops you to use a tool. We will have to break the ice or break our mental block that this is going to hammer or the architecture. No, it will not. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an amazing session, sir. Thank you so much. I would like to call upon our next dynamic, eminent speaker of the day, Architect G. Rajaa. Architect G. Rajaa is a young, actively practicing professional in architecture. He is the principal architect of Signature Designs, and also is associated with Periyar Maniamma University as a professor. He had completed his B.arch from Mehta in 2002, and also his M.arch from Periyar Maniamma University in 2014. Currently, he is a research scholar in SRM IST, Katangulathur. He is also actively involved with IIA as fellow member with utmost commitment. He was an EC member in 2013 to 16 in the Tiruchirappalli Center, and also as a joint secretary in 2016 to 2020 in the Tiruchirappalli Center, and got the Young Member Award IIA TN chapter in 2013-14 and 2016 and 17. He was the nominee for the IIA representative for COA. His passion to the profession shows in the energy and the dynamism which reflects in all his achievements, alongside his infectious positivity and smile. He believes in being a bridge between the senior professionals and junior newcomers to help them in their progress. His deep commitment in the knowledge of laws, amendments, and acts has enabled him to fight for the cause of architects for the past 18 years. He has submitted research papers and attended various conferences and conventions. His projects have got published in IIA magazine, Footprint 3. He has also been awarded Good Samaritan Award by SRM Seed. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much,
I welcome you,
ma'am, and thanks for a great moderation which is actually happening. And first of all, pranam to my gurus, Professor Architect P.R. Mehta ji, and my own super senior boss Amogh sir. He's my super senior Manit. It's a privilege, and because I remember the days when I used to actually stand outside his office at MP Nagar, to have a look at him. Today, I'm so privileged to actually host him in this particular session, and he has spoken like the way he was speaking for long years. It's happy to see him speaking that same way of the passion. I think like we don't actually have different opinions or different thought process because we are from the same college, and sir has given already the same thought process which was needed for this particular session. First of all, I'll take the leaf out of that particular word from my super senior. He said, what is an aptitude? It's a natural ability, the way of thinking. I add a few words because MSCTNs have this beautiful idea, and architectural MSCTNs have this technical understanding of calling it as a passion towards architecture. We call that as a passion towards architecture because that intuition has to come from your own. It has to come from your heart and soul. It's a pleasure. I'm seeing Ashok Goyal sir here, and is one of the guiding factors for me and my guide, my mentor, Dr. P. Satish Kumar sir. Pranam to everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a very simple subject which everybody knows, and this subject is derived to the aspirants of architecture, because I believe architecture needs that particular inspiration for many people to acquire the knowledge of architecture. That is very important at this particular time, because it is very important we actually create awareness among the youngsters to pursue architectural course. But the question lies, pursuing architecture course or taking architectural course. Anybody who actually wants to actually anybody who has a passion towards something only can achieve that particular passion. That is very important for everyone. The way Sir said about aptitude test, the national aptitude test in architecture is also conducted to find the perfect, passionate, or the intuitive, or the natural ability person, who can actually study architecture. That's a very important thing. A person who is a musician or who wants to be a musician have to have a passion towards music, and the passion towards music should reflect in every activity what he is doing. This national aptitude test in architecture, which is conducted by the statutory body Council of Architecture, which started in 2006 under the regulations of 1983. It says the minimum standards of education, and it actually had provisions with architectural COA regulations of 2020. The regulator want to actually have right kind of people into the study of architecture. That's the basic idea behind the regulators examination pattern. The examination pattern is also towards taking the right kind of aptitude person into the system. The field of study needs a basic understanding of different parameters. Like I'm taking an example. A person who actually sees a flower, a beautiful flower, okay, somebody says the flower is okay, the flower is good. Somebody says the flower is so beautiful. Somebody says you can see the flower is so beautiful, and you can see the petals which are coming out. The colors are actually blooming so beautifully. I can see the inner surface. There are three different characters which are actually involved in this particular ability. You need to understand the basic parameter to study architecture. What is the idea of studying architecture? It says it just to go through a cognitive skill, a visual perception to be there in that person, and aesthetic sensitivity, logical reasoning, and critical thinking ability. What is the need of all these things? It is a very good question. It is a very important question. What is the need of all these things to an architect, to an architect or to a person who wants to study architecture? Architecture is about a beautiful perception. You are actually, we know that in history, we have seen people making so many wonders, and it talks about the tradition, technology, and the culture of that particular region at that particular time. They are actually the testimony of our region. Like you take a Taj Mahal, we see that emotion actually inherited in that particular monument. So the amount of understanding the architect must have to actually pursue the study of architecture, he needs some basic fundamental understanding towards your fabric. So that fundamental understanding should be tested, my dear friends, to the aspirants. Very important fundamental understanding to be understood. They want test the cognitive ability. How do you memorize things? How do you actually understand things? How you are attentive towards the particular thing? What is your visual ability towards that particular subject? These all are very important. As you know about architecture, architecture needs this particular aesthetic sensitivity. Again, there is another thing which is there. An artist who makes every picture on paper, this architect is a person who makes the picture on paper, and that converts that particular picture as a realm that is actually becoming a realm. You can go inside and feel it, feel the spaces and feel the entire fabric of your. So to get that feeling or to make that realm happening, you need to have lots of other understanding towards your fabric also. You need to understand what is a numerical understanding. You need to understand what is visual perception, what is an aesthetical perception, what is a logical reason. You should have a logical understanding towards anything. Say for an example, you are actually seeing a tree. You are treeing a tree. Now you want to draw the tree. You want to convert that tree's trunk as a cylinder. If you know what is a cylinder, then only you have to have a mathematical understanding or a geometrical understanding to convert that particular subject. That is very, very important as an architect. The architect needs to understand various parameters of mathematics, physics, or any critical thinking which is coming in this thing. So this actually the entire syllabus or the entire understanding of the regulator, he says, kindly actually going to get this knowledge. If you have that knowledge, I'm telling you, all my friends, if you are not getting qualified into this system, that means you don't actually need to worry, because this is a qualifying examination. It says yourself, you can put it yourself and say that, yes, I am not a person who is actually fit for architecture, because you're not qualified. That means that need of understanding which is there in you is not there for this particular subject. You might be a good doctor, you can actually become a good engineer, but architecture, you need some understanding, you need some reasoning. For that particular reason, this particular NATA, National Aptitude Test in Architecture, has prescribed some format. In that, they are asking some questions for you to understand these parameters properly. So there are some situational judgments which are given. There are some principles of architecture they are given. There are some color theories which are there. A person who can actually differ what is the different colors, how the colors are actually coming. Basic understanding should be there in each and every aspect of that specific study, which is architecture. That is the idea of the NATA examination. And coming to the second examination, this NATA examination is conducted for the admission of Bachelor of Architecture across India in all the institutions. You must actually get qualified in this particular, subject, this aptitude test, to actually, get in admission of any college. That is what the regulation says. Now, when it comes to the School of Planning and Architecture, government-funded institutions, and for the NITs, you need to study one more. You have to clear or get a rank in one more examination or the test. That test is called as JEE Paper 2A. That is for architecture. The JEE Paper 2A actually takes everything from the regulator only. Whatever is actually said in the regulations have been taken very clearly in this particular subject, JEE Paper 2A examination. If you think the JEE Paper 2 examination consists of 100 marks of mathematics, 200 marks of aptitude test, because if you are actually good in knowing about like cinema, say for an example, you know about cinema, okay, cinema, then you must know like you are very passionate about cinema, you want to become the director of the cinema, you must know who is the wife of Shah Rukh Khan. At least you must know what is the difference between Abhishek Bachchan and Amitabh Bachchan, like that should be there. That architectural awareness is very, very important, because you are coming to architecture. We expect you to actually learn architecture. We want you to understand architectural, projects, architectural things. We want to know what are the buildings which are available. It's the simple thing. It's a flower which is given it to you. How you are expressing that flower, that is what is asked in NATA. There are 115 questions which are asked in aptitude level, and 10 questions which are asked in an image level. The time is very less to actually make you understand so many things. If you have any doubts, you can actually ping me on that particular subject. And JEE has got this beautiful mathematics 100 marks, then 200 marks of aptitude, and 100 marks of drawing test. There are people who are very good in drawing. Please go ahead, because there is no drawing test in NATA now. But in JEE Paper 2A, you have 100 marks of NATA question paper. This is about the NATA and JEE Paper 2A. I thank all the panel members, for coming here and making this beautiful program successful. And I thank Kavitha ma'am for also giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that wonderful session. Sir, shall we move over to the question answer session, sir? I request all the delegates to post in your questions. This would be the question answer session. So kindly post your questions in the chat box, which we will be reading out to the panel members.
I am Ashok Goel. May I ask one question?
Hello.
Can you hear?
Rajaa sir, you're mute.
Yes,
sir.
May I ask one question? Anyone of the panelists?
Yes, sir.
Question?
Definitely, sir.
All right. You see, from this year, the Council of Architecture have amended minimum standard of architectural education. And according to that, anyone who wants to join any architecture college has to compulsorily clear NATA exam. It means that those aspirants who have cleared JEE Paper 2, they are also supposed to clear NATA exam. In February 2021, 51,000 aspirants cleared JEE paper 2 exam, and only around 11,000 aspirants cleared NATA exam. This means around 40,000 aspirants who cleared JEE paper 2 exam will be deprived of admission to any architecture college. I filed an RTI in the National Testing Agency to clarify this situation. They evaded the reply, though the Council of Architecture is very clearly mentioning in their advertisements that NATA is compulsory, but National Testing Agency is not informing the aspirants that NATA is compulsory. So I want to ask the panelists, how will they resolve the situation? Please.
I request the panelists to answer for Ashok Goltar's question.
Two eminent people are here, former council president and the council member, heads of institution.
No. Okay. Let me try and say. Can I say something, Ashok?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
See, when Ashok does not get an answer from National Testing Institute, who am I to give answer? You see, what is our competence as a panelist in this discussion to address an issue which he says he has not got an answer from the authority? So I would leave it at that. Today's discussion is not representative of any statutory body or a government body to answer a question. It has to be dealt with by the competent authorities. That's about all. I can only share his concern with one thought simply, that the student should never be troubled. Student should never be troubled. I would aim for that. And for that, if anything Ashok is doing or anybody else is doing, is just perfect, absolutely. Next, we can take the next question. Is there any other question from anybody else here?
I request the participants to ask the questions, please. Kindly put your questions in the chat box so that we'll be able to talk to the panel members regarding the same. So as of now, we don't have questions. We will wait for a couple of minutes for the participants to put their questions in the chat box.
Kavitha ma'am, there is a question.
Sir, we have a question from Vimal. My major question is all about the course regulation, wherein MHRD ranking only the deemed university, NITs, VITs are only exposed to the maximum. The affiliated colleges of any notable universities, example, Anna universities, are not exposed much. Is this due to the change of regulation or capacity of the colleges? Over to the panel members.
Or capacity of MHRD. See, these questions, what answer do you expect?
Mehta ji has rightly said, the question, in fact,
has to be relevant to one is the topic, that whatever we are discussing, it must be relevant to that. That is number one. Two, one needs to understand that this is not an information bureau.
My request to all the students who are aspiring students, aspirants, the parents who have joined here, kindly know the former Council of Architecture President is here, and current council member and heading lots of forums, Amogh Sir Gupta is also here. Kindly ask questions. It is the right time for you. There is one person.
So we have a question from Saumita.
Yes, please.
Yes, we have a question from aspirant Saumita studying 12th standard. She said that as much as I am excited to join architecture, I would like to know the approaches to studying architecture in colleges. And will be there any difference now that we are facing the pandemic situation?
Okay. See, I have a point now. This is a very, very important and pertinent question for all the aspirants. See, last one full year, architectural education and all other educations, including school education and higher education and professional education, I think there has been rethinking that is this the only mode, the face-to-face system, is this the only mode of learning and also teaching? From a student's perspective, learning is the primary issue. From a teacher's perspective, he thinks that he has a pill which he has prepared over the years, and if he is able to give that pill to the student, he would be a knowledgeable or skillful of a particular discipline. Now that has come under question. The issue that the learning is as important as teaching, or self-learning could be even faster than way you teach, because now students are already 10+2 and they have developed their grasping, their understanding, their learning methods, and this is being put to test. My experience of last 1 year in entering into some of the juries of the design studios, I can tell you that at least half the class has done as good as it was a face-to-face arrangement. There are at least 10% who have done exceptionally well when I compare it with face-to-face arrangement. And then there is, of course, there is a percentage of students who have not been able to adjust themselves to the new situation. You see, they were just simply waiting that maybe COVID would go away. So next month I'll be attending the class. So what if I don't work? Doesn't matter. I'll catch up. I think they remain waiting. And for the time being only, because this is all an experimental stage, an experimental situation, an exceptional situation. So I personally feel that here it has given a great opportunity to students to understand that they can develop their own faculties of learning. There are teachers who have learned that there is no one way of teaching. There could be an opportunity given to a student is also a facilitation of learning. So the teachers are also learning. Teachers are also learning as to how to communicate better. And is face-to-face the only way, or there could be alternative? So even they themselves are, I should say, learning. The teachers are learning, and it is a new mechanism is getting evolved. So, and I see a very good hope that what was absolutely not necessary to be face-to-face in times to come will go away, and it will be on self-learning mode. And what would be absolutely necessary on face-to-face, maybe the electronic medium would be facilitating that. I would not have to carry my model to in train or a bus to my college. Maybe there would be different ways of making somebody understand my design. We are dealing in the same manner in our profession with our clients. So architectural education is nothing but what actually happens in real life in profession has to get translated. So if I can be with my client on a virtual meeting and explaining my design, I think same thing can be done in design studios. It would cut down many unnecessary costs. Maybe a new mechanism may evolve, as Dr.Amogh Gupta said, that it need not be only a 5 year of education. Maybe it will be 4 year and then 1 year of real life in office, or some combination. So education and practice, they would have a new combination. which will get evolved. A combination, what we are thinking right now, of a semester of practical training and 4.5 years of school, maybe it will change. So I think this is a situation, very good opportunity. We all have to unlearn, learn, rethink, whatever, and take a new stance very soon. So in this intervening time, it's for everyone to learn, everyone to experiment. And my recommendation to all teachers would be that please experiment as much as you can, because even if you have to fail fast and come out with a newer idea while we are into this, and make a kind of a consolidation of your experience, share it with the respective statutory bodies, statutory body, including regulators, including university. Both are statutory bodies. They have different roles. Share it with them so that we rationalize our educational system, we make it more efficient and more meaningful for students with greater opportunities.
Kavitha, can I add something?
Definitely,
Yes,
sir.
In continuation to Parvinder Mehta ji, I think now he has replied in a detailed manner and must have satisfied the question query of that Swamita first. That means in future, the learning process is going to change. And this pandemic has given us a chance. In SP also, in initial stage, when there was a lockdown, for a fortnight or a month, there was a dilemma, confusion, how to move, how to complete the course. And not only in SPA, in NITs also, where I keep on interacting, and other institutions. I must congratulate and note the problem and the situation. The faculties have changed themselves. They have developed that there was a problem with many faculties, but they have changed. First, they have changed themselves, the way of instruction, to understand on system, and then to question. And then definitely the young generation is faster than us, our generation. Their adaptability is much more faster than us. And what we took as a faculty to come over 4 months, about a semester, they were responsible in 15 days. And that was the outcome result when in one of the jury meetings where I was and Mehta ji was also there, we found definitely few works commendable, exceptional. And overall work was also good. Now coming back to my basic question. You all can recall in about 14, 15 years back, we as a faculty were very much having reservation use of computer and computer drafting. Still in few institutions, it is there. And now under compulsion, we are going to follow it. So my submission is use the tool in a right way as fast as you can. Take it as a tool and you'll get a success. That's all. ठीक है, Mehta ji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can I shoot out the next question? So this is a basic question, sir. Pertaining to the pandemic situation, many of the people do have a question regarding the career perspective. I would like both of you to give an insight about how the perspective of this career will be, so that the students will be benefited and they selecting the course will also be with a better clarity. So your insight about it, sir. Hello. The panel member.
पहले आप मैं मेहता जी से अनुरोध करूंगा, पहले सर आप
नहीं, मुझे फिर दोबारा से एक बार क्वेश्चन, can I understand the question a little more clearly?
Present pandemic
A career perspective.
Yeah.
due to pandemic, many of the students do have a question regarding the career perspective, how the career would be in the future. So a clarity about that would be helpful for us and also for the students.
Okay. Let me first of all say that I pray that this is a very temporary phase of our life, and very soon the normal situation would be there. Say maybe 2 months, 3 months, I do not know, but that is what I pray. Now, yes, there is a kind of a setback on all fronts of engagement, employment, professional practice, that because there is an economic slowdown, so naturally it would reflect everywhere. But what it offers is a phenomenal opportunity, even to people like us who are there for almost 30 years, 40 years in practice, is to review our stances, study some more. And I think time could be utilized in a manner to strengthen ourselves. Don't think it's a 5-year program and what another 1 year has gone, or if I'm midway, 10 years already in it and there is a break for 6 months. I think it's a great opportunity to study, look back and see what actually had your interest, which are the subjects which had interested you all along, but while you were in employment or professional practice, you had been chasing your client or working along with your projects and never looked back and saw what you actually really interested in and you could be a specialist in, or which could make you a better human being, which could make you a better architect. So you study something. So I think take this as that opportunity. It's a break which has come by your good luck, and take it in the right spirit. I am studying. I am reading these days. I'm reading something to do with economics, something to do with the implication of policy decisions on human habitat. Diverse subjects which I always thought I was interested in, and I would comment or I would react to. I'm trying to do some kind of a study and prepare myself as a better human being to respond to situation, maybe a better professionals, and maybe a better team member in something which would be multidisciplinary in nature, that I have understanding of subjects which are laterally connected with my profession. So don't miss this opportunity. I tell all my colleagues in my office, the younger ones particularly, that here is a time to study at least 2 architects' work. Become a master of maybe Paul Rudolph or Le Corbusier or Sanin or whomsoever you think, or somebody. Study his works in detail, why he did what he did, trying to see in what context he was working. Become a master, and that will make you a very good architect, because you would start understanding that why others have been doing what, in what situation, in what context, for whom. Why did they try technology as a primary tool? Why somebody thought, no, I need to go back and work as Dr.Amogh Gupta said, at what naturally people are doing. Why not look at that? And I think that will make you a better architect. So don't think this time is going. This is an opportunity to learn on your own. You have a passport, you have a degree, which says that now you can learn on your own. You don't need a teacher anymore. And so here is your own test. Pass this test. Study.
I'll add few lines. Rightly, Mehta ji has said, it is time to learn. And what is to be learned, either you yourself decide, or at least for that you approach to Guru. What is to be, how it is to be utilized. But for the freshers who are going to opt this course, if they are having any confusion or dilemma in their mind, for those people, I use the word noble, and noble, one meaning I explained, that is full of courage and care for others, and second, belonging to the highest social class. Yes, sometimes we know right from past, architecture has flourished when there was a economic growth and what you can say, no wars, everything was going peaceful and calm. But even then, in today's pandemic situation, with all negative reportings in newspapers or on social media, you refer the economic part coming up in the papers. Many of the reportings are there that the growth rate or economic growth is not going to, or it will grow up. And just targeting that thing, economic growth will be there. This is a temporary phase. And when we know we have to go, why not to increase our capability and competency in this period and be prepared for the right time. And every time, if you go in history, after every these type of activity, architecture has come up. It has not gone down. It has come up. It is just like a sine graph. It will go up. So nothing to worry about that. That only I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My heartfelt thanks to all the panel members for making this session so insightful and meaningful. I thank the delegates for all your questions, and I hope you got the right answer for them as well. I think this session was the need of the hour. As the panelists rightly said, I would like to add upon that architects are the designers of the society. This is a soulful profession that had been an inspiring educative platform for many of us. To make it more competent and make it more worthful, as rightly said by our respective panel members, a reconfiguration of the curriculum pertaining to the development of profession need to be done by the fraternity. In addition to what the panel members have been discussing, the pandemic situation will not put down a profession anymore further. Will definitely rise up to be even more promising fraternity in the future. I thank the panel members for such a beautiful guidance and very detailed explanation about how to go about with this profession in the forthcoming future and how to handle the pandemic with more courage and braveness. I thank Megan Spooty, School of Architecture, for giving me this opportunity, and all the coordinators for being a support and giving me this opportunity to place my talk on this stage today. Thank you, sir. I hand over it to the host.
So thank you so very much, honorable guests. It was such an enlightening, informative, and an inspiring panel, I would say. There are so many thoughts and ideas that you all have really brought forward to give our audience a wonderful insight into the profession. I would like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of Megan's Pooty School of Architecture to the three of our guests for accepting our invitation and for being here and giving this wonderful discussion. So my sincere thanks to Architect Shri P.R. Mehta, Architect Dr.Amogh Gupta, and Prof.G.Rajaa for gracing today's function with your presence and honoring it with your valuable inputs and inspirational thoughts. And I thank everyone in our audience who has really been here by your presence, because of which this panel is successful. And before we leave, I would like to thank Professor T.S.Kavitha for wonderfully moderating the whole event. Thank you, ma'am. And last but not the least, I thank Mr. Suryakannan for organizing this event from our side. It has been great to be having each one of you here today. Have a wonderful evening. We look forward for your participation in many more of these events in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Amogh sir. Thank you, Mehta sir.
Thank you all. Thank you, delegates. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kavitha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.